Hello, everybody. I am so happy to be here and welcome again for another Thursday Running with Scissors. We are going to have a great time today with all sorts of paper and ink, actually watercolors, which will be a ton of fun. And I know you guys are really going to enjoy this. So I am happy to see all of you guys popping into the chat. If you are new here, I would love to hear from you. So give us a little hi, hello, and where you're from. We'd love to know. This group has been together for 73 episodes. 73! Can you believe it, guys? I mean, we're going to be at 100 before you know it. We might just have to do a celebration for that. I need to start thinking about that now. Anyway, I am glad to see all of you out there. Like I said, I see lots of weather chat in the chat, and it seems that there is a beautiful day everywhere. Well, except for Sweden. Cece says it's rainy and stormy, but you know, sometimes you need a good rain. I hope that it hasn't been too rainy for you out there. Oh, and some sad news from Sue. Her ATG gun broke, which is what she uses to add adhesive to her projects. And she needs to now go on Amazon to find one because they don't have any at our local craft store. Oh, well, I hope you have some backup glue that you can use for your crafting this weekend. Otherwise, well, I'll be sending you good vibes that you get a new ATG gun soon. All right. Hey guys, so we're going to jump right into it because actually I think even though today is only a 1-layer card, it's going to take a little while because it's watercoloring. So let's move on with things. Announcements are the same that they've been because I announced our new Stamp Focus stamp set like so early in the month last month. So we've got the mail drop stamp set. We're going to start with that one on the first week of October. So just a reminder, I guess I could have put that on here. No running with scissors next week because it is a 5th Thursday. And I always use the 5th Thursday of the month to take off, regroup and rest and re-energize and recharge and all the re's to get ready for the next month and the next stint of time that we have that we just go week after week after week. So next week we will take a break, watch a replay, do some projects that maybe you've been meaning to catch up on. I would love for you to do that. Anyway, so next week we will take a break. Of course, the Bloom Crafting community is coming soon. Actually, you know, I should really change that to say it will be opening soon because I already have people in the Bloom community and some of you are out there in the chat and I love that you guys join me here as well. So we've been doing all sorts of fun things in the Bloom community. We've had some Q&As. We do inspiration challenges, and we've got all sorts of great content that I put out every week. And it's not all just like the typical stuff that you would see on Facebook or in any other group that you might be a part of. We talk about all sorts of different things. We talk about photography. We talk about organizing your stash. We talk about swatching. We talk about color theory. We talk about design theory, all sorts of things, all sorts of topics to help you become a better crafter. So if that's something that sounds like it appeals to you, go to bloomcrafters.com and check it out and get on the wait list. All right. So, and thanks, Anne. She says, it's so awesome. I'm glad that she's enjoying it. And Anne, I've got some tricks up my sleeve. There's all sorts of new stuff coming out that I'm going to be adding in. So, of course, if you're not a part of it yet, you're going to want to be a part of it as soon as I open the doors for it again, which will be soon, I promise. Go ahead to bloomcrafters.com and sign up on the wait list. As always, if you create a project that is inspired by any of my live streams, I'd love for you to tag me on Instagram. So tag me at Nicole Creates. And that way I can check out all of your crafty ingenuity and share that out on my channel as well and get you a little more visibility. As always, I do appreciate it when you use my affiliate links to shop. I've got affiliate links down below for all the products that I'll be using today. And when you click on those and do shopping at any of those stores, that is at no additional cost to you. That store might send me a little bit of a commission, which is a great way to say thank you to me and to other crafters that you enjoy out on YouTube and out on their blogs and all those other places. If you see affiliate links, click on them and do some shopping. All right, another way that you can support me, of course, is using the brand new tip jar. And there's a link down in the description below. It's just a link over to PayPal. You can send me a little something for a cup of joe that helped this channel going. And I'd like to thank Patricia and Aaron for popping a few bucks in that tip jar. I was totally surprised and flattered and excited. You guys are my first tippers, so thank you so much. It makes me feel great knowing that you guys appreciate what I do enough to send me $1 or $2. So tip jar is down there, and if you tip me, you will see your name right here when you do that. All right, so let's take a look real quick. This is the mail drop stamp set for next month, and I wanted to give you guys a sneak peek because I told you that I really wanted to make sure that I did a red mailbox, and this is going to be our first project in October, and here it is. It looks super difficult, and I'm going to show you how it is super easy, and I'm not going to show you the interactive part of it. You'll just have to wait to see that. But this is our project for the first week in October, and I know you guys are going to love it. So this is the mail drop stamp and die set. It's an interactive set, so we'll be doing interactive projects all month. And yeah, if you want to grab it, the link, I don't know if I put the link downstairs or down in the, just not downstairs. Is it Friday yet? Down in the description. But you know where you can find it. Concord9th.com, mail drop. You're looking for the mail drop. All right, I'll add it in the description later. All right, so cute. And it's, guys, it'll be easier than you think it is. Okay, awesome. So that is next month. Get ready for that. All right, on to this month. Of course, we're using our snail mail stamp and die set. So we've been on like this mail kick lately. And here's our project for today. It is a single layer project. And we're going to do some, oh, thanks, Anne, for checking. I appreciate it. This is gouache. So think of wash, like you're going to wash your clothes, but you're going to do it with the G. You're going to gouache your clothes. All right, so we're going to use my 12 set of gouache. We're going to have a little bit of fun with Mr. Snail here and some watercolor on Kraft. Crazy, right? It looks gorgeous, and you guys are going to love the tricks that I have up my sleeve for this one. So let's get on with it, shall we? Because it's all about the watercolor today. All right. Where do we start? Let's start with a piece of Kraft cardstock. So this cardstock, okay, I have to admit, I love Kraft cardstock. And I swear I have like 5 different Kraft cardstocks from all sorts of different companies because every Kraft cardstock is different. Some of them are lighter, some of them are darker, some of them have just a little bit of like some flecks of darker colors in them. Some of them are more pink, some of them are more brown. This one happens to be a darker Kraft, and it's also a little on the thicker side. This is from Lawn Fawn, and it's called Paper Bag. And they also have a second one, and I can't remember. I think it's called Kraft, but it's lighter. Okay, so different. But this is called Paper Bag. It's from Lawn Fawn. It's really nice and thick, and I love it. And it works great with watercolor. Okay, so I've got a palette, which we're going to use with gouache in a minute. So Anne says, I thought gouache was only white. No, it comes in all sorts of colors, which is awesome. I also thought, for the longest time, I thought gouache was only white. And then I realized like this whole world of gouache out there. And I was like, I've got to have it. I need to be able to watercolor on colored paper. Okay, so we don't need any dyes today. We do need this big high. And we need our little snail dude. And we need the little, I love this, so cute, the little heart in the speech bubble. All right, that's all we need. And I'm just going to set the stamp set aside. Okay. So what we're going to do is start off by heat embossing this. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, so I will admit there was a mistake on my sample card. And what do you think the mistake was? Yeah, I did this kind of, as I was testing out how I wanted to do this where the snail is overlapping the H, I placed the snail first. And then after I had him embossed, I went back and I did the high, and I ran out of room. So I just, I masked out the exclamation point and just did a regular high. Not hi. So this time we're going to do this a little differently because I learned a lesson. All right, so the reason why I did it that way the first time was because I wanted to I wanted the snail to look like he's overlapping the H. And I thought that I had to do it one way by putting the snail down first, but it turns out that I don't have to do that. I can stamp everything and then do my little magic trick. Okay, so we got anti-static powder, of course. And we're using black today, so I like to make sure that I've got a pretty decent layer on there. Baby powder, basting brush. That's all you need. All right, or cornstarch basting brush, whichever you prefer. Either will work. Okay, and I've got my black embossing powder here. Okay, so I'm going to start off by stamping the high in my Versamark. So we're basically going to build this all together. And I'm not using a stamp positioner today. I just didn't feel like getting it out. So I'm catching up on your conversation here. So Becca, so nice to see you. Glad you could join us. And Cece says, maybe the snail was a bit tired, so he didn't sound happy. Yeah, I think he was just kind of, but it works. It works. It works. It works. Okay. So there we go. I've got my high with my exclamation point. Now remember, Versamark is not going to dry really fast, so you can do a little bit of stamping without having to worry about embossing. Okay, so I've got the high. Now I'm going to get my snail over here, and I think I have to stand up and kind of go over because I want to overlap him a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. All right, so there's, you can see there's the overlap. All right, don't worry about that. We're going to fix the overlap in a second. And then I've got my little speech bubble. Oh, I forgot about the hearts for later. Right, and again, I'm going to kind of get up over the top of this so I get the speech bubble right where I want it. This one's a little tricky. You don't want the speech bubble to be so far away that it's like, hey, it's way over here. You want it to be close enough that it's like coming out of his mouth. All right. So get on top of things and align it, or use a an alignment tool to make that happen. Okay. So I left my spoon over there, but that's okay. Just scoop up some black and go over this. All right. So look, I used enough anti-static powder that I didn't have any problems with that. All right, but I did get some on my table here. Okay, so now I'm going to take a little brush, and I'm going to just gently brush off the embossing powder and blow on that gently to reveal the edge of the snail. Now, I might not know exactly where that line is with the snail. That's okay. You can make it up. Doesn't need to be perfect. No one's going to say, I want to see that stamp set and see if you got the snail right. All right, so and then I also got into the snail's body here, so I need to just take my brush again and very carefully get rid of the embossing powder there. So now it's going to look like my snail is in front of the high. And I know you can still see the Versamark there. But again, don't worry about it because we're going to paint that. So you're not going to see it when we're done, right? Because gouache is opaque, which means that you're not going to be able to see through it. All right, so let's heat this up. All right. It looks good. Sorry, I didn't realize I had that was blowing right at the microphone. I hope that wasn't too loud. All right, there we go. So now I've got my snail. He's all nice and embossed, and the high looks really nice. And I've got that overlapping looking really good. So adorable. All right, so let's, I told you guys I forgot to grab the little heart out of here too. Oh, you know what? Let's do something a little different. I'm going to do the small heart and the large heart for this one and show you guys a little variation. Let's do that. Hello to everyone who maybe just popped in. We are running with scissors and having fun with a Concord and Night stamp set this afternoon. And if you are new here, I would love for you to pop into the chat, say hello, and tell us where you're from. All right, so now I'm just using my Versamark to stamp some of these hearts. And I'm even going to like flip them upside down, starting with the large one here. And I'll even go over my embossing. All right, I'm going to go off the edge. All right, that's pretty good. And now I'll take the small one and fill in some more spots. And again, the heart can be facing any direction. And these don't really need to be done like perfectly because we're gonna paint over them. I think I want to put like one more right there. That looks good. Oh, let's do that. Okay, that's good. So now I have all these hearts all over the place. Yeah, you know, Sue, I love doing this all the time. Take your take some of the supporting images in a stamp set and use them to create a fun background, right? All right, so we are done. Well, we might need that in a little bit if we need to dry something, so I won't let that go too far. We can zoom in just a little further, I think. I don't want to go too far because I want you to see the gouache. All right, so for watercoloring, this is just like regular watercoloring, okay? So I've got my damp towel here so I can wipe if I need to, my brushes. All right, so I like to kind of keep that up. Actually, I keep it down here. All right, so this is my gouache. Now these are teeny tiny. They will last for a long time if you're not using that, like if you're using them for stamping and crafting and stuff like that. So I've got white in here. This is a little set of 12. You can mix these colors to make other colors. So there's lots you can do with them. Let's see. So what did I do? I lost my sample card. So I used a red, and the red that I used is this carmine. Okay. And I've got white out because I need to do this little white bit here. And then like I really had a problem deciding what I wanted to do with the snail. Eventually I landed on this kind of funky little bit here, and I used my permanent yellow, my burnt sienna, and my violet to do that. So that's really all I need. Just those right there. And then I might need a little bit of black. Sometimes you need a little bit of black. All right, but that's all I'm going to use on here. All right. So these little gouaches, they are 5 milliliters. They're very, very small. But like I said, they do last quite a long time, especially if you're doing it for little projects like this. And yeah, so this is a, they would call this a liquid watercolor. It's like a paste. So see, it's just like a little, like a toothpaste. Come on, focus. I know you want to focus. Maybe I'm too close. There we go. See, It's just like a little paste. Kind of reminds me of a heavy body acrylic or an oil paint in its thickness, but it is a watercolor. Okay, so this is the Carmine. That's what we're going to start with. And I have a smallish brush. This is a number 1 size brush. And it does need to have a little bit of water added to it just to get it moving. All right. And all sorts of fun new people joining. Hello from Mississippi. Welcome. All right, so I'm going to freehand all of these hearts. Scary, right? Use a small brush. Take your time. Move your paper around. Don't try to move your hand around. Move your paper. This is like the same thing like if you were to fussy cut. You move the paper, not your hand. So because this is such a small little piece of paper, we can move it around and get to all the little edges and stuff. All right. So if you can do a nice long stroke, that is helpful. The longer the stroke you can do, the better it's going to look because you're not going to have all these little starts and stops. All right, so you just try to do your outline and then fill it in. All right. The paint on your palette is going to dry out. So you will have to go back into your water and get a little drop here and there as you go. All right, so the larger hearts. Okay, so Cece wants to know, why do I need gouache if I have watercolors? Okay, so Cece, what would it look like if you watercolored in red on your craft? All right, what would that look like? Let's take a little detour. Okay. So these are just regular watercolors, right? So these are, oops, wrong one. Right, so these are regular watercolors from the Watercolors from Alta New. If I were to do like Red Cosmos. All right. That actually looks pretty good. But you're not always going to have a great result, right? It's going to, when it dries, it's going to show a lot of the brown through it. All right. Whereas this shows like a nice solid color. All right. You can use them together as well. So like say you were doing something where you had used your regular watercolors, but you really wanted to bring out a white or something like that. Instead of like trying to add an acrylic paint or something on top of that, you could grab a white gouache or a colored gouache and go over the top of it and have an opaque finish. So when I put one color on top of another color with these, they don't blend together. So you know how when you watercolor with multiple colors and you put them on top of each other, they're translucent, right? So they blend, the colors blend together, or they, yeah, they'll blend together into a third color, or they kind of mix and do something funky that you don't want them to. Well, when you're using gouache, that doesn't happen because they sit on top of each other and they don't blend, they don't mix. So if I were to put like purple stripes on top of all of these, you wouldn't see that heart underneath the purple stripe. You would just see the purple stripe over the top of the heart. So yes, and to Anne's point, the gouache is a bit thicker, but you can thin it out, which we're going to do when we do the red wash over the top of this. So you can thin out gouache enough that it becomes somewhat transparent, but that's not really the point of gouache. It's supposed to be opaque, not see-through. So there we go. Yeah, so but here's the thing, like I don't have 20 different brands of gouache. I have one brand of gouache. I have 12 little tubes of gouache. You know, I'm not like a prolific watercolorer, so I don't feel compelled to have that much in my stash. I have what I have so I can mix some good color combinations together and do little techniques like this and call it good. Okay, so here we are with all of the large hearts are complete. Wow, see, all that talking got me through. Is it costly? You know, to be honest with you, Anne, I got these a while ago, so I don't remember how much they were. Although I do remember thinking like, I hope these last me a while. And of course, they do. I mean, just like any watercolor pan set, I mean, unless you're a prolific watercolorer and you're doing lots and lots of projects, it lasts you a while, right? All right, so now I'm down to the small hearts. These guys happen a little more quickly. And again, like if you didn't stamp it so well and you don't have like the whole heart, make it up. It doesn't need to look perfect. It might not look super great once you've got this part of it done, but after we add the wash over the top of it, it's gonna take away some of that imperfection, and your eye will be drawn in different directions because of the wash. So, you know, like this heart turned out a little more. That's okay. It makes them look more hand-drawn for sure. There we go. You can also use, a lot of people use white gouache for their splatter. So now if you've got colored gouache, you can use all of that for different splatters, which is kind of fun too. See, there you go. Hobby Lobby has a set of 12 for $10. Yeah, gouache is coming a little bit more mainstream, so you may find them obviously now in craft stores, not just art supply stores. And again, like these are Holbein, Holbein, and that means that they're a little bit more of a premium brand. So I paid a little bit more for them. But if you're doing it for card making, you don't need to, I personally don't think you need to go for top shelf because it's a card. It's not a fine art piece that someone's going to hang on their wall for 20 years, you know, where you want to have that light fastness and all those other characteristics of really good high-end paints. So, you know, you can spend a little less on them and still get a good result for a card. Okay, so Paula says she found some on Amazon, 24 for 17 pounds, which is, yeah, it's about $23, $25. Okay, so there we go. There's all of our red. Before we go any further, let's do the wash since we have the red out. Now, like I said, this can dry on your palette, and see, it's been drying this whole time. So I just need to take my brush and reactivate it with some water. So if you're ever working on a project with watercolors and you've got them on a palette and you really like the colors you have going on, don't clean off your palette. Just let it dry and then bring in a little bit of water to reactivate it when you're ready to work on your project again. Okay, so these guys are all dry on here. But what I'm going to do, there was something interesting that happened when I tried this because the Versamark, so remember we stamped these all with our Versamark ink pad. Okay, so because the Versamark is still kind of underneath there, it did kind of this cool resist. You see how it's not going around the heart like that? It's so cool. So it keeps a resist kind of going. And I've run out of paint. Let's put a little bit more down. So I really watered this down so that it would just do like a little bit of a show through. All right, when I get close to the little elements here, though, I need to be careful and just work my way around. Good thing they're heat embossed, right? So I don't have to worry too much about that. Now, if you don't have gouache, there's a couple of things you can experiment with. One, you can experiment with adding, if you only have white gouache, experiment with mixing it with your colored watercolors. So put a little dab of the white gouache on a palette and then put your regular colored watercolors over it and see if it works. Or you can also try just watercoloring on Kraft with regular watercolors and see if you have some that are a little more granular or some that are dark enough that they come across on the watercolor cards, on the colored cardstock, I should say, without that colored cardstock peeking through so much. So I think like regular watercolors, sometimes they work decent on like a craft paper. This would be even more dramatic if you were to use this on black, and I'll show you an example in a second here. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to let that dry for a minute, and I'm going to grab that sample because while I'm thinking about it, this will answer Cece's question. I can't find it. All right. I couldn't find the card I was looking for, but this is going to help answer your question as well, Cece. So if I were to take a regular watercolor like these here and do this on black, all right, so this is what a regular watercolor looks like on black. You can't even see it on the screen. If I take my gouache and put it on black, that's what I get. So like if we do some of these other colors, and of course, the less you water it down, the more intense the color is going to be. Okay, so this really opens the door for you being able to watercolor on different colored cardstock. You just have to know that gouache typically doesn't really, the layers don't blend, right? They lay on top of each other. So here's, see, look at how the red is starting to pop on there. Here's the purple. All right, give that a minute to dry and you'll see how amazing that looks. And then the yellow. So when these dry, they will be even more vibrant. And I did a card for an Ulta new release not too long ago with these. Will they work on glitter cardstock? You know, I don't know. I don't think I've ever thought of trying that. That might be an interesting thing to try. All right, so you can see that these guys are drying and you can really see them. So here's your regular watercolor, and here's your, I guess I'm getting too close to the camera. It doesn't want to focus. There we go. So here's the red gouache, the purple gouache as it's drying. You can see that nice like purple line, and the yellow. You would never get a yellow regular watercolor to show up on black paper. All right, so there, that's an even bigger distinction for you. So, and see, here's the watercolor that we did on the back of this card compared to that. All right. Okay, so let's move on. Actually, I need to get some clean water here because we're going to do some white, and that was way too much. Get back in there. Yeah, I'd love to see Anne. All right, so now that all of our red is done, we can get some clean water, which you're definitely going to want to do because we're going to go into the white. All right, so into the white gouache. This is like painting with whiteout. Something I may or may not have done as a child with office supplies. You never know. But here's what I love about this. It gives you that beautiful crisp white against this Kraft. It's just stunning. All right, so this I wanted to keep kind of thick because I wanted to make sure that the white really penetrates and becomes, you know, stays white. So I did not water this down too much at all. And because we heat emboss this, I've got that barrier right there. That makes it so easy to color in. So this is completely opposite of no line watercoloring, right? Because we have these lines to keep everything in place. And do some really cool effects. So you want to make sure when you do your heat embossing that you're not heating it up for too long. So the because your embossing powder will actually eventually melt into the paper. The wax in it or whatever will melt in, and then it will actually become flat. You want to make sure that you just heat it enough that you get the nice little rounded edges from that embossing powder melting. All right, isn't that so cute? And now it just like pops like crazy, right? Ah, Nancy, I so did that. Who didn't? You take some white out and you're painting your nails with it, right? You know, like you're doing little French tips with the white out. Oh my goodness. All right, so there's that and that. For the little body here, I'm actually gonna mix just the tiniest, so you can mix these. You see that little teeny tiny drop of black? That is like potent. So I'm actually going to just take a little bit of that and put it into some of the white and water this down quite a bit. Are you, Nancy? If you're aging yourself, what am I doing? So I'm going to add just a little bit to his body. This is going to help make him not look like the Kraft paper. And also cover up that little bit of Versamark that we had there. All right, so just kind of like a little bit of a dull off gray kind of look for our little snail. We're going to put some glitter on him in a minute anyway. Okay, so now I've got this snail shell, and I really was totally at a loss for what to do with this. So I picked a really funky combination in the end. I've got burnt sienna and this permanent yellow. It's called Permanent Yellow Deep. It's like a darker yellow than there's two yellows that come in this particular set. There's lemon yellow and there's permanent yellow. So this one is more of a golden yellow. All right, so I got that one, and then I've got the violet colors. All right, so I'm going to just start with the burnt sienna. And I'm going to take, this is a very small brush. This is a number 0 brush, and I'm going to just do some zigzags like so. And a couple down here. I don't want to do them everywhere because I want to be adding in all those other colors too. All right, so we're going to let that dry for just a second. All right. Yeah, and overheating your embossing powder is a common mistake, I guess. Sometimes it looks really cool and you can do it intentionally. I've done that before where I wanted to take gold and I want it to look kind of funky in a distressed kind of way. So sometimes you can overheat it and get it to melt into the paper, and it gives this kind of mottled effect. It looks really cool. Of course, if you've done it on purpose, that's one thing. If you've done it because you just simply overheated, that's another. Okay, so this is dried for a minute or two. So we're going to go into the violet, and then I'm going to bump this right up against it, basically. I really love this purple. It's a lovely color. All right. And I'm gonna wait for it to just dry for a minute. You don't want to rush this part because we want to make sure that we're getting that things aren't blending together. I mean, it is a watercolor, and wet on wet means that it's going to merge together, and you may not want that to happen. It did happen a little bit here, but it kind of looks cool, so I'll let it slide. All right, but I really don't want anything to get into the yellow, so we're gonna just let this dry a minute. All right, so my yellow here is dry. Just a little bit of water to reactivate. And we're going to fill in those last spots. I feel like I don't have enough yellow, maybe. I'm going to add just a little more. I want it to be a little more solid versus see-through. There we go. Now, if I think that I'm going to work on a project sometime soon with these colors, I will just let them dry on this palette and set it aside and use it when I get to that project. If I don't think I'm going to be getting to it anytime soon, though, I'll go ahead and just clean it off. As you can see, I've used a minuscule amount of what's in these tubes today. So really none has gone wasted, and getting rid of this little bit that's on here is not such a big deal. But like I said, if I think I'm going to use them again, I'll keep them off to the side. Okay, so where are we at here? We're pretty much done. We're just waiting for a few things to dry. Now I'm hesitant to let this hit this with the heat gun because of all the embossing around it. The heat embossing will heat up again, and at that point it could get overheated and suck into the paper. It looks really good right now, so it's worth just letting this sit aside and dry on its own. Another thing that will do is it will keep this from warping. So the piece of cardstock is really nice and flat right now. So if I heat it up, it might want to warp a little bit, and I don't want it to do that. Okay, so last thing, a little bit of Winkostella on our Snail. Now, this has got a little bit of alcohol in it, so it might move the ink a little bit. It might not. But it is going to make them sparkly. Because you know a snail has that little snail trail. It's a little slimy, sparkly bit. So there we go. I could add this to some of the hearts too. Like so. And get a little bit of sparkly sheen on there if I wanted to. All right, so you brought up a little bit of the paint though, so just wipe that off before you put it away. All right, so guys, I'm not gonna put this on the card base right now because I do want that to dry. And that's it. Super cute one layer card. All right, so if we put this on our card base, of course it would look like so. So nice big bold border. The piece of cardstock that I cut is 3 3/4 by 5. So it's gonna have this nice big border around it, just like its original partner here. And as you can see, like doing the small hearts, let me back out a little here. Doing the small hearts is really cute, but doing a combination of hearts is equally as cute. Of course, if you were looking for a more, you know, you could do any real little thing in the background. I was trying to just use this particular stamp set, but of course, if you had different imagery that you could paint in easily, you could definitely add in something completely different if you wanted to, like little stars or anything like that. Totally, totally adorable. All right. Hey, I'm really impressed with myself. So the sample card seemed to take me forever because I was painting all these little hearts and I thought to myself, I'm never going to get through this in an hour. And here we are, having got through this in under an hour with a really, really cute result, a little riff on the original design with some larger hearts as well. So there we go. Guys, so Nancy says I need to go get some golf in, which actually I might do because the weather has broken and it is going to be gorgeous for the next couple of weeks, which means it's time for me to go hit the links. Okay, so before we go though, I did want to show this one more time. So CC and everyone else that wanted to know the difference between gouache and watercolor, it's really shows up on dark cardstock for sure. So here, which you can't even see, is our watercolor, traditional watercolor. These three are gouache in the red, the purple, and the yellow. And that is why gouache is really awesome, and it's a nice thing to have in your kit. There we go. You guys learned something new today. That's awesome. All right. So, hey, like I said, if you have been inspired by any of the projects from this month or any of the projects from any of my previous videos, I would love to see what you guys create. So don't forget to tag me out on Instagram at Nicole Watt Creates. I'd love to see it. If you loved today's project, don't forget to give me a thumbs up on this video on your way out. And I will be back in 2 weeks. Don't forget to, watch a couple of replays, catch up on some projects, share them out on social media, tag me at Nicole Watt Creates. If you need to do some shopping, use the affiliate links below. And if you really love me and you want to give me a tip, there's the tip jar too. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go wipe off my golf clubs and go hit the driving range. So I will see you in a few weeks. You guys all have a great weekend and happy crafting.